Hey student, watch this video and learn how you can test your listening with podcasts in English. Coming up. Hey friends, Teacher BAIXE here to help you talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime in English. First of all, thank you for joining me on another video. If it's your first time here, consider subscribing because from Monday to Friday, I post different kinds of English lessons, listening tips, reading tips, grammar lessons, idioms, phrasal verbs, all kinds of lessons because I want to make sure that you become a better and more confident English speaker. So check out my channel. Today it's live. I didn't have time to record it, so here I am live, okay? Now, it's gonna be a short lesson because I wanna make sure that you get this idea. And how can you test your listening with podcasts? And why am I talking about podcasts? Podcasts are so popular. You know, in my email list, every week I send a podcast episode to my students because podcasts really help English learners improve. You can really improve your listening comprehension by listening to podcasts. Now, there is a common confusion English learners have with the way they have to use podcasts. And that's why I decided to make this video because many English learners, they use podcasts incorrectly. And then after 6 months, they feel frustrated because they're not improving. They don't feel like they are making progress, especially if you are a pre-intermediate, intermediate speaker, because usually at this level, the progress we make is more subtle. Okay, so in that case, if you are a pre-intermediate speaker or intermediate speaker who is trying to improve the listening, pay attention to the tips I'm going to give you because they're going to help you maximize your results with podcasts, okay? And why did I decide to make this video? Because actually I had another video in mind that I was going to make tonight. And the video was, I was inspired to make this video because something happened to me this morning, yes, it was in the morning. I was studying another language, not English, I was studying another language. And I saw this podcast suggestion and I was like, okay, let me listen, let's see. It was from a YouTuber that I like, that I'm following. I don't follow many YouTubers in this language, but I follow this YouTuber and she made this podcast and I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. And I started I started to listen to the podcast and I understood everything, okay? But in spite of understanding everything, at the end of the podcast, I was surprised. At the end of the podcast, the teacher, the person, asked, I think, 5 questions. And I couldn't answer them. I was shocked because as I was listening to the audio, I felt that I could understand everything, I felt like, yeah, my listening is amazing. But then when she asked the questions, I was like, I don't remember. I don't know. What did I listen? And that's when I realized that I was doing exactly what I tell you guys not to do. This is a very passive way to listen to podcasts. And this happens a lot to people who drive to work or who have a long commute to work, who take the bus or the subway. They start listening to podcasts, believing that just having that moment, just listening to that podcast episode will improve their listening, when in reality, it's not. So I had this feeling that I understood, but when I was asked some questions, I couldn't remember anything. So this could happen to you. Sometimes we have this feeling that we have understood everything, but whenever we are asked questions about the subject, we can't explain. And usually our explanation, our excuse is, it's because I don't remember. It's a lot of information, but that's bullshit. We didn't understand. We didn't test the listening. And let me tell you, my friend, if you are trying to improve your listening skills, to understand native speakers, to understand your boss, your foreign boss, to understand movies, TV series, to be able to communicate with people, you need to test your listening. There's no other way, okay? And I did this incorrectly this morning, and I remembered, I was like, oh, I can't do that. This is passive listening. Now, I'm not saying that you always have to test your listening. If you are at the gym and you're running and you want to listen to a podcast, okay. But just keep in mind that only listening will not improve your listening. We need to do a little bit more. And that's what happened to me today. I thought that I could understand everything. I was very excited listening to the podcast, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm improving. But then the girl completely broke me because she asked 5 questions, and I was like, 5, 10? I don't know. Oh my God. So this happened to me, and this could happen to you. This could happen to anyone. Okay. Now, what did I do? Because I'm Teacher Pricks. The second time I listened to the audio, I was prepared. So I got paper, not this size, this is a Post-it, but a bigger piece of paper. I got some paper, I got a pen, and then I played the audio again and I took notes. Then I started to test my listening. When I get a pen and I start writing what I truly feel like I understand, then you make the magic happen. That's when magic happens, my friends. Because then I realized the moments that were actually very difficult for me. The moments that I was like, what? What did you say? And the moments that I was like, yeah, I got this. Because I was testing myself. I was writing it down, but that's not enough. That's not only what I did. So I wrote down the information that was important. Now here, many English learners, they have a misunderstanding of writing things down. I'm not telling you to write everything down. This is not a dictation exercise. That's not my goal, okay? I'm telling you to take notes on what is relevant information. Write down things that you believe are relevant. Key pieces of information. So when I listened to the audio for the second time, I focused on important information that would help me better understand the podcast. So let's think this over, okay? What is important information? Of course, this will depend a lot on the subject that you're listening to, but generally speaking, important dates, important names, locations, when the speaker stops for a moment and shares his or her opinion. There are moments like this in podcasts. If you pay attention to podcasts, they usually have this moment when the speaker shares his opinion, his personal opinion about something. Or maybe if the podcast, the speaker is sharing some important, interesting facts, curious facts, trivia during the podcast. These are pieces of information. These are relevant pieces of information. That's what you need to write down. You don't need to write down everything, but to a certain level, after you finish listening to the podcast, you need to have this feeling that, okay, what do I really remember? What do I really know? And if you just listen, unless you are an extreme sensitive listener, your learning ability, because your learning channel, because I've talked about this in a previous video a long time ago. We have different learning channels. Some people are visual, some people are auditory, and some people are kinesthetic. They need to touch, they need feelings. So unless you are like hardcore auditory, because I'm an auditory learner, I learn a lot by listening, but if I don't do this, how do I know I learned? How do I know I really understood? Okay? After I finished the second time I listened to the audio, then I had information. Then I had a lot of information that helped me answer the teacher's, the person's questions. And if you pay attention, out of the 5 questions, I answered 4 questions correctly. I didn't get all the questions. I got 4. So I really tested my listening. So now what was my conclusion after really being active with my listening exercise? I understood very well, but I did not understand everything, or I didn't understand as much as I thought I had understood. So this kind of feedback you can have by yourself. You can really have this feedback moment if you follow this strategy, if you really test what you're listening, if you write down important pieces. This is not a dictation where you have to write word by word. No, not at all. Now, if you do this by yourself, how do you know the information you wrote is correct? That's when the transcript is important and will definitely help you. After you finish listening to the audio and taking your notes, now is a good time to check the transcript and really check what you understood. So look at your information and then check the transcript. Okay, what can I find here? Um, where is this information? Where is this? Where is that? And that way you will be correcting your listening. And then you will be checking how much you didn't get and how much you got. That's how you test your listening with podcasts. That's how you improve your comprehension skills. Okay? Now, as some recommendations, I love listening to podcasts. There are many podcasts I listen to. I have 3 podcasts here that I enjoy. The first one is a little bit more serious. It's a crime story, but these are real crime stories, okay? They are a little bit long, 30 minutes. Now, another point here, for this kind of exercise where you write down and you answer questions, I don't recommend very long podcasts. I think up to 15 minutes would be okay. More than that, it's very long. To be very honest, I prefer 3 to 10 minute podcasts. For me, they are better because then I really get down to what's important, to the most important pieces of information. With 30 minutes, there's a lot. So with 30-minute podcasts, what you can do is you can break it down. So for example, if it's a 30-minute episode, you can listen for 3 different days on 3 different days. So on the first day, you listen for 10 minutes, then you test yourself. On the second day, you listen for 10 more minutes, and then you test yourself. And on the third day, same thing. And this first podcast has transcript. So yay, you can check, you can correct yourself. So after you write things down, then you can correct yourself. The second one is Adulting. It's a podcast where 2 friends, I think they're friends, okay? They talk about adult life, the challenges of being an adult. It's super casual, super informal. I think this will be nice for you. When I listen to them, I really feel like it's a casual conversation between native speakers. Okay, so that's what I really like about this podcast. It's very casual, nothing too serious that is gonna change the world, but it gives you that vibe of native speakers talking. Okay, and many podcasts don't do that. Many podcasts, like this first one, In the Dark, it's not really a conversational podcast. It's just like giving you a story, some facts. Now the second feels more like a conversation, and I think this would definitely benefit you. You know, it really, it's very helpful for English learners. The third one, I think it's very important too. It's a daily boost. It's a motivational podcast. It's about 15 minutes, but it really teaches a lot of nice information. So I think you can improve your listening skills and at the same time improve your life, improve as a person, get some nice motivation. So I think this is a win-win because you get motivated and you learn English. How cool is that? All in all, guys, excuse me, I'm not saying that you cannot have a moment to just listen and relax. Yes, absolutely, do it. But if you are trying to improve your listening with podcasts, I think this is a very efficient way to do so. Okay? Other than that, my friends, if you enjoyed this lesson, oh yes, let's see. This is important. I forgot to say that. Now, this is a simple process, okay? What I told you basically here is take notes, keywords, important names, important dates, and that's it. But you will see that when you start doing that, it's not so easy to do because it will require a little bit more dedication. It will require a little bit more persistence. But what I can guarantee you is if you keep doing this, if you keep applying this exercise, this routine of listening to podcasts and really digging into the information and writing things down, after a few months you will feel a tremendous improvement in your comprehension, especially if you choose good podcasts to do so. There are many podcasts out there. Make sure you choose a good one. Okay, and if you enjoy this kind of lesson, if you enjoy this kind of tip, make sure to hit the like button because it really helps the channel. It helps me understand what kind of lessons you enjoy the most. Other than that, my friends, I want to know in the comments. Come back here in the comments and let me know what your favorite podcast is. Okay, so what is your favorite podcast? Let me know here in the comments, and if you can share a link, because that way you can share your favorite podcast with other people. All right, thank you so much, my friends, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.